Welcome to the deep dive. We are opening a file today that, well, it doesn't read like organized history, not at all.
No, it's more like a stack of field reports that were never meant to be seen together.
Yeah.
Six very different, very brutal encounters.
And they stretch across the globe. We're talking deep jungles, hidden caves, small towns with terrifying rituals.
But when you start laying them out next to each other, this pattern emerges. The common thread in every single account is loss, a profound, unaccountable loss.
Yeah, and a chilling cost that's exacted for what? Knowledge, power, sometimes just for survival.
Exactly. We're looking at things like secret post WWII bunkers, entities that seem to literally feed on memory.
It's almost as if reality itself is being weaponized in these reports.
That's the mission for this deep dive, to synthesize these details and try to understand the nature of the trade. What are people being forced to give up, and what happens when these hidden systems decide to manipulate human experience?
Okay, so let's start with these hidden environments, places built specifically for engineered control. First up is Project Morgenlicht.
Right. This account details an expedition deep in the South American jungle. They stumble on this overgrown structure, marked with a swastika, and it leads down into a massive, completely self-contained colony.
A colony that was told the war was still on. They were kept in total isolation.
And this wasn't a refuge, it was a laboratory. The manifest they found listed 978 people.
And get this, they weren't soldiers. I mean, there were engineers and technicians, sure, but also barbers, cooks, entire families.
They were all part of Project Morgenlicht, the Man of Tomorrow project. The goal was to create a better human using radiation, growth accelerants, strange jungle fungi, you name it.
And the journal of one of the engineers, Eric Mailer, he's the key. He realized the whole thing was a closed system.
But the real horror wasn't the experiment itself. It was the failures, a containment breach in Sector 3.
He writes about the escape of these failed subjects. Creatures with melted skin, pulsing ribs, just warped.
And then comes the detail that just turns your stomach. The expedition team finds these sealed protein units.
And Mailer's journal confirms it. They were being fed the failures.
Yes, they were processing the bodies, the biological waste of the project, and feeding it back to the colony to sustain this quest for a perfect human.
It's a closed loop of horror.
And the report just ends with this profound ambiguity. The team escapes. They seal the hatch behind them after seeing one of these things, but when officials finally arrive,
They find nothing. The official report says, no bodies, no creatures.
so the system didn't just deny it, it actively erased it. It protected the infrastructure that created the horror in the first place.
That official denial is so important. Now, let's contrast that crude physical control, with our second account, the unmarked white pill.
Yeah, this one is. It's a completely different kind of prison. The narrator gets these pills from a friend, Jason, who just reappears one day, totally reborn, and then vanishes.
And the initial effects are incredible, right? Razor-sharp mind, boundless energy. He gets a huge promotion at work almost overnight.
But then comes the trade-off. First, he loses an hour, just gone. Then he loses a whole week.
And during that missing week, his body was functioning perfectly, more than perfectly. It was answering complex emails, running meetings, dating. The person was gone, but the function was optimized.
That's the terrifying part. The self is completely disposable. The body is just a vessel. We've seen other reports that tie this to some very high-level research into memory transfer. The body is essentially rented out while the consciousness is dormant.
And the final dose? He loses an entire year.
A full year. He wakes up in a luxury apartment, millions in the bank, he's a top executive, and he has a fiancée named Mia. He remembers none of it.
His body, or something in his body, achieved everything he ever wanted, but it cost him his entire self. Now he just has to fake this perfect life.
So when you put Morgenlicht and the pills together, you see two sides of the same coin, don't you?
Absolutely. One is creating a better human through, totalitarian force. The other does it with biochemistry, a temptation.
But the result is the same, a stolen existence. The system doesn't care who's driving, as long as the work gets done.
So if that's about engineering control, our next two reports feel more ancient. Control that's imposed by geography, by a terror that requires a ritual. Let's talk about the Snowfall Run.
This is one of the most chilling accounts. It's about a small town where, their entire existence is built around an annual event. It's tied to the first heavy snowfall of the year.
The date is announced weeks ahead of time, and the whole town just shuts down to prepare, and the rule is so simple and so absolute.
Run and never look back. If you stop, you're just gone.
The things they're running from, they call them the wolf walkers.
And the description is, It's not ghosts, not werewolves. They're described as having wolf heads with cracked snouts and overlapping teeth, but thin, rotting human arms.
Their legs are bent strangely and they phase with the falling snow, so they're almost a part of the storm itself.
It's a community that lives by the rhythm of this primal fear. The narrator's own father was left behind. He was just too slow.
And the sacrifice. I mean, the narrator's mother, she was sick, weakened. She uses her last bit of strength not to run, but to stand in a shed doorway and just scream.
A conscious choice. To draw the creature's attention. To buy her child a few more seconds.
And the town's other rule is just as chilling. The people who don't come back from the run.
They're never mentioned again, just like
Yeah.
they never existed at all. The memory of the lost is the price the living pay for their sanity.
That silence. It says so much. And we see a similar dynamic in the next report, the discovery of the unmarked cave.
Right. This is about two friends, the narrator and Ryan. They find this tiny opening in some rocks, barely wider than a man's shoulders.
But it opens up into this massive, pristine cavern, except something is wrong with the environment itself.
The geology is corrupted. Rock formations are twisted like rope. The ceiling is punctured with these small holes, as if something had bored through them.
Yeah, it suggests the thing that lives there didn't just move in, it shaped the very earth around it.
And they find bones, rodent bones, bigger ones. But then they find a skeleton that's human-shaped, but larger, thicker,
Yeah.
and it's been shattered, covered in gnaw marks.
So this wasn't a habitat, it was a pantry.
Exactly. And then they see the drawings on the wall, ancient. They show these small figures fighting a huge, distorted shape. Then later scenes show the figures fleeing, trapped. The creature is blocking the only exit.
It's a warning.
A warning they were about to live through. They hear this low, mocking, wheezing sound, and then they see it. The twisted shape skittering across the uneven stone.
The creature attacks Ryan, the entrance collapses, just violently seals itself shut, and the narrator just hears this wet, disgusting crunch and a chewing noise before he gets away.
And just like with Morgan Lake, the police arrive and find nothing. No cave entrance, no Ryan, no creatures. It's gone.
So the wolfwalkers and the cave entity, they're both these ancient territorial predators.
Yes, but the key insight is in the response. The walkers are managed with this intense annual ritual and social silence. The cave entity is managed by official denial and total geological suppression.
So the systems in place are designed to hide the threats, not solve them.
Precisely, which makes the horror permanent. It's not a crisis, it's just a factor of reality that has to be kept under wraps.
Which brings us to the final and maybe most intimate price of all, memory. The soul itself. Let's talk about Mr. Mapmaker.
This one is just heartbreaking. It's a father grieving his wife who moves with his young daughter, Ellie, to a new town. And Ellie starts talking to an imaginary friend.
Mr. Mapmaker.
Who is anything but imaginary. This entity starts giving Ellie these impossibly accurate maps. Maps to places the father himself had forgotten. An old hunting cabin from his youth.
And he goes there, and he finds his wife's buried silver bracelet exactly where the map said it would be. The entity is using his own grief, his own memories against him.
The locals try to warn him. They say it finds ways of speaking, but the real warning is, the real horror is what it promises.
And the confrontation comes. The mapmaker demands a trade. To let Ellie go, he says, you must leave something behind.
He saves her. Physically, she's fine. But the cost, her memory of him is just gone. She looks right at her own father and asks, who are you?
It didn't take her life. It took their bond. It took everything that made them who they were to each other.
And the terror doesn't even stop there. In the epilogue, the father is now obsessed. He's in his office, constantly drawing maps, feeling the entity guiding his hand. He's become its new vessel.
He's been completely alienated from his own self, which is a perfect lead-in to our final and maybe darkest account, the club.
This is the ultimate example of a calculated sacrifice. The narrator is struggling with his life, just broken, and he finds this remote club that promises bliss through ritual.
The meeting hall has this ornate door, and it just radiates this intense feeling of elation. And there's this rhythmic thumping sound coming from behind it.
But admission is an ordeal. The first test is simply loss. He's given this strange straw doll, which burns when the test is done. And then in quick succession, his wife dies of a sudden sickness, and his daughter dies in a car crash.
He's paid an impossible price before he even really begins.
Which is the hook. The second test is 100 lives from 100 cities.
Oh, my God.
It's years of calculated, anonymous murder. He's driven by the sunk cost. He can't stop because if he does, his family's deaths meant nothing. He returns totally stripped of all humanity, broken, but he's ready.
He goes through the glowing door, and he comes out. A new man, reborn, and he says the immense cost now feels cheap.
He can't say what's inside, only that it trumped his wildest fantasies.
So it confirms the pattern. The ultimate price is always paid for an impossible wish. The mapmaker takes a memory and a man's will. The club takes 100 lives. The trade is for a profound change, but it always destroys the original self.
So when you pull back and look at all 6 of these, the bunker, the pill, the creatures, the entities, you see a terrifying consensus.
Reality is pliable.
Exactly. Hidden groups like Morgan Lake and the club actively exploit suffering. And the most dangerous entities, they aren't after your body. They're after your coherence, your identity, your memory.
And the real takeaway is what happens after the trade. Every single narrator, whether they won like the club member or the guy with the pills or lost like the father, they all end up completely alienated.
The successful trades are almost more terrifying. They leave behind this empty shell, wearing a perfect life. The final question isn't if these realities exist, but how the systems of power, official denial, government clearance seem designed to either use them or just keep suppressing the truth of the cost.
So the final thought for you, the learner. If a system offered you everything you ever wanted, a perfect life, but the price was your entire sense of self or the memory of everyone you ever loved, would that new, perfect life still belong to you? You have to wonder how many successful people out there are actually just living a stolen existence.